This meeting to order. First order of business is Paul would like to join the meeting. Is there a motion? Member Daly, Member Rulin. Please record your vote. Member Daly, Member Ruland. Might have to refresh. Ayes have it. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
Next order of the business is the approval of the January 28th minutes. Is there a motion? Member Duncan, Member Renault. On the second. Any comments, corrections? Seeing none, please vote. Ayes have it unanimously. Next, we have the informational items. Move to receive and file those unless there are specific questions that need to be taken from those. Seeing none, we're going to move around here a little bit before we get to resolutions, and we'll do the standing committee reports because we do need to go into executive session and we are waiting on some counsel. Infrastructure, Member Salzer.
Mr. Chairman, we have 4 resolutions, and they were all passed unanimously. The first one has to do with a bridge out on Smithville Road, and the bridge, the expansion joints were deteriorating, and they were causing some problems where other things were deteriorating because of that. And so we had to hire, first of all, an engineering firm, and we hired CMT, that is Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley. If you'll remember, they did a lot of work for us on Maxwell Road, so they are very familiar with the area and so forth. The cost is going to be borne, of course, by our bridge fund, and it's $130,180. The second resolution is, you'll see there, the guardrail, and this is usually an annual project that we have to do because people are careless and so forth, and the highway department set aside close to $250,000, and they found out really they're not going to need that much, and so the amount that was bid, and it was bid by Northern Contracting, and they just happened to be from Sycamore. They were the only bid, and there was no nepotism in this because maybe some of you don't know, but our county administrator, that's where he's from, Sycamore. So we can't say that there was any nepotism. That's been checked out. Anyway, that project is, as indicated, $127,780.20. Now, we know that there's going to be some other additions since this has been bid, And because they have plenty of money set aside, they're not going to use all of it, of course, but we estimate that they've got about 3 or 4 more places to repair in the county. So it'll probably run over $150,000. The third one has to do, of course, with our annual pavement program that we have with Bradley University's engineering department. And each year we renew that. We started it in 2008, and the amount of money that we will spend, and the engineering department will then proceed and do half of our roads in the county, $30,062. The last one, we have two parts to this resolution, and incidentally, both those last 2 resolutions, that'll be by way of our motor fuel tax. And the very last one has to do with hiring an engineering firm to do an analysis of the wind impact on our county roads. Hutchinson, who is situated out in Pioneer Park, they will do this for us, and the amount of money will be $80,000. And added to that will be hiring a lawyer out of Ohio Royster, who's very competent in this area, and he, as our chairman pointed out yesterday, spent many years on our own planning and zoning board. And that lawyer's name is Andy Kite. And that will be, he will be paid up to $40,000. Now, both of these will be borne by the wind company, and so there's not going to be any expense to us. That's it.
Thank you, Chairman Salzer. Any questions for infrastructure? Seeing none, Ways and Means was canceled, but do you have anything, Chairwoman Duncan?
Yes, I will share that since our meeting was canceled, we did have one delinquent resolution, but we will move it. We had it moved to the March 13th County Board agenda, and so we'll wait for it to vote on that then.
Okay. Thank you, Chairwoman. Any questions for Ways and Means? Seeing none, Land Use? Chairman Ruin, or Vice Chairman Ruin?
I will take land use for Chairman Rosenbaum. We had relatively routine informational item, with the exception of the $2.6 million improvement. Permit was issued for the Caterpillar Edwards demonstration area. I think it's worth noting that even though a lot of this community feels like Caterpillar's moved on from here, they're still developing, spending a lot of money, and investing in the area here. So that's the highlight of our informational items. We had 4 resolutions, 3 relative to solar, and 1 relative to wind. And that was at the petitioning of Peoria County to make updates to our permit process relative to commercial wind energy. If you have specific questions on that, the details are with Andrew Braun. He's here with us and probably would be happy to answer questions. He's thrilled because he's moved on officially now from Airbnbs, which was every week, to solar and wind.
Any questions for Member Rulin and Land Use? Great job running the meeting yesterday, too.
Thank you.
Next is Operations. Member Ricker.
Thank you. For operations, we had 1 resolution. We had an IT services staff augmentation services. A lot of words, but we have a staff member, one of 4 staff members that does the frontline support desk activities that's going on to Air National Guard leave and will be out approximately 8 months. So we contracted with a service that will provide a person that will provide that service for us, so we have a full staff of 4 people during our employee's absence. And that was a $51,000 contract. It's already in the budget, so we did not need to do a budget amendment for that.
Thank you, Member Ricker. I just want to wish Tiffany well on her service and appreciate all that she's done for us here and for her deployment, all the safe return and safe travels. Next is Member Renault, Health.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did not have any resolutions, but we did get an update on the financials for the HHS building, and it appears we're going to be about $783,000 under budget on that facility and that project, so kudos to everybody involved in that.
Thank you, Member Renault. Questions? A follow-up, we did have that also in Infrastructure Committee, which was a nice feature, and we talked about 4 add-ons that had been taken out, which I think were great add-ons that were added on there. So, do you want to mention the 4 add-ons, Member Rulin, real quick? Value adds.
Value adds. These are things that we took out prior to creating the original GMP. If you may remember, we did exterior cladding rebid right before we got the project underway. That is where most of the funds came from to redo the north part of the parking lot, which we said we were going to live with the old parking lot for some time. That proved to be impractical and create a potential maintenance nightmare. So we ended up redoing the entire parking lot. We added the rooftop break area off the employee break room and the furniture that goes with it. We also, we did a snow melt system in the front entry sidewalk that will lower long-term maintenance cost because we don't have salt on that sidewalk. We don't track it in onto carpet and other flooring. And it's much safer coming into a building on a dry sidewalk. And the fourth one, I'm going to have to think about this for a second. Who's got a clue what the fourth one was? Yeah, the partition, that's exactly it. We put a partition in the community rooms so that instead of one big space, now we have the flexibility of 2 smaller meeting rooms. So we've added substantial enhancements to the performance of the building and still ended up under budget. So I think all in all, a successful project.
Good job, everyone. Any questions? Public safety, Member Allison.
We had 2 resolutions. One was for the food service contract for the jail and the JDC. And this new contract, it is with Trinity. There were no local bidders, but this one hit all the needs and also is a cost reduction for them and kept the civilian workforce providing the food. So they were able to work it out to match the caloric needs of the JDC in the same contract. And then the other one was a transfer of AOIC funds to the Public Defender's Office.
Thank you, Member Allison. Questions? Seeing none. Finance, Member Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We just had one resolution, which was FY24 rollover and FY25 additional appropriations, and that passed unanimously.
Thank you, Member Williams. Questions? Seeing none. Public comment? Is there a public comment? And I'm also going to just do, before we go into, let's just do miscellaneous before we go take an executive session also, or public, or board comments. Member Salzer?
I just thought about this. Brian usually makes this announcement, but since I'm on a board that has to do with it, he tells you about the farmer's breakfast. I know it's going to be the 8th of March on a Saturday. Somebody told me it was going to be $1.25, $1.50. Those farmers, they're starting to really get richer, aren't they? But anyway, the event is, of course, by the Farm Bureau, and they try to show the profit that farmers have and so forth, and they put out a pretty good meal, and that's the only time my wife ever takes me out for breakfast. Okay.
Thank you, Member Salzer. Any other comments from around the board? Two things I want to mention. Essence Hill is here, a new attorney. We're fully staffed. Welcome to the team. Glad to have you. I know Jody and her team's been out relentlessly trying to recruit lawyers and bring us the best, so appreciate everything, Ms. Hoos from the State's Attorney Office. And I just wanted to give a shout out. I know a few of us attended it, but Andre Allen and Brittany did an excellent lunch and learn this month at the HHS campus, Black History Month. They had very informative speakers and engaging, and it was very well done. So I just wanted to call that out as a good event. Thank you. We're going to do resolution 4.1, and then we're going to go so some of the other staff members can get out of here and then do exec and then come back out on this pending litigation. So is there a motion for the reimbursement agreement with Four Creeks LLC for legal engineering services incurred for a proposed wind farm road use agreement? Member Blair, Member Daly.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Salzer alluded, there is an engineering agreement that came out of his committee yesterday with Hutchinson Engineering that is doing road impact analysis and will provide technical assistance to the Highway Department and County Administration as we negotiate a road use agreement with Four Creeks LLC. Four Creeks LLC is a wind energy developer. You previously approved meteorological towers for them in January of 2022 and a fourth one in April of last year. They've been collecting that wind data to determine if they're going to develop a wind farm. They've also been working to secure leases with private landowners. In the geography that is Millbrook, Princeville, Jubilee, and Brimfield townships are parts of them. A condition that we require, or that we will be requiring, should the full board approve the text amendments that came out of Land Use Committee yesterday, will require that a road use agreement be approved by you prior to them filing their special use. The agreement that is before this committee today is a reimbursement agreement with Four Creeks LLC that will reimburse the county dollar for dollar for the Hutchinson agreement and dollar for dollar for any legal fees incurred during those negotiations. You also heard Mr. Salzer share that we've retained Heil Royster to be our point person on the negotiations for that road use agreement. The total amount for this resolution before you is $120,000. 80 of that is for Hutchinson, 40 of it is for Heil Royster, and that's the cap. The resolution not only approves, or I should say authorizes the county administrator to execute that reimbursement agreement, but it also does the accounting and the budget moves to make this happen as well. So from an accounting standpoint, we're going to create a new special revenue fund so that these funds can be properly segregated and properly accounted for. And the approval of the resolution also will appropriate into that new special revenue fund the $120,000 in revenue and any expenses that may be associated with that. So an equal amount, dollar for dollar. Happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrell. Questions? Seeing none, please record your vote. Member Ricker, did you have a question?
Yeah, just maybe a follow-up question. The assumption would be that we would use the same strategy with any future wind farm suppliers that would come in the area. So this is a pattern or process we would implement for wind farms only, not for solar, correct?
Correct, Mr. Ricker. Per the ordinance amendments that came out of Land Use Committee yesterday that you'll be considering on March 13th, every wind energy development that files for a special use has to have a road use agreement in place first. And that road use agreement is unique to that wind energy development. The road impact analysis component will be unique to that road use agreement. I would expect that the actual legal work will be less the more of these that come before you, but there still will be some of that negotiation that is required.
But the reimbursement portion of that negotiation would be part of the process that we would expect to happen.
That is correct, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Member Daley.
On this subject, in 25 words or fewer, can you tell me why we aren't requiring the highway agreement before the building permit instead of before the special use permit? Because it seems to me like you can stop it from being built before the building permit is issued if they don't have the highway agreement. So, you know,
So Andrew might be able
Yeah.
So we've done this on very similar projects. We've always required, this has been a standard practice of the county, is to require that work to be done up front. They're going to have to do that one way or the other. There was some disagreement yesterday that saying that that was more restrictive than the state ordinance. Our attorney, Mr. Kite, and Mr. Braun from the Planning and Zoning deemed that that is finally, that's a gray area, but they felt very comfortable that requiring that work to be done up front before building permits was done was not an undue burden. So that requires the developer to negotiate in good faith and get the agreements in place with the townships. It's kind of been standard operating procedure for most of our projects, and that was one thing I think the highway or planning and zoning and the land use committee felt was a deal breaker of trying to move that around. Other counties move it when you apply for the building permit, you have to have that in place. We're just requiring it to be done when they actually apply for the special use. So that way we know where the roads are going. We know where what agreements they have with the township, so we can make an actual more informed decision. So not 25 words or less. Did I leave anything out, Andrew, from?
It's not uncommon that counties have these road use agreements in place at the special use process. So there are some that are before, there are some that are certainly after. The majority of our requirements across the board, not just for wind, are in place prior to the special use application. We want to ensure that we have the most complete set of documents, studies, reviews conducted before staff gets it, before it goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Land Use Committee, and the County Board, so that it's a very transparent process. How the roads are being used, who's going to replace them, repair them, what's going to be the process, what type of vehicles are being used, all of it's spelled out, all of that information is then available at the public hearing and for your consideration rather than after the fact, and then it doesn't feel like it's as much of a public process. So that's my,
Well, I have no disagreement with making sure that that's done. My only concern is whether or not it could be not in compliance with the new compiled statutes. That's all. That's my question.
and our attorney felt that that was in compliance with the new Public Act.
Thank you, Member Daley. Any other questions? So it did pass unanimously, 12-0. So next we'll move into, we have two things to talk about for pending litigation in executive session. Is there a motion to enter into executive session? Member Duncan, Member Ruland. Please vote.
All right. Paul, I need to hang up on you now.